With a bunch of the rain that we've been having, I haven't gotten out to pick the asparagus, and I don't eat enough of it to love it so much I'm out here every day. But you can see we got some good looking stuff down here, but we're starting to develop a canopy here of ferns. And asparagus is a root ball essentially, and it grows from the root up, and then if you let it grow and you don't cut it so that you can eat it, it'll grow into these wispy kind of ferns. And these aren't quite there, but they're actually quite beautiful. And then they take the sun's energy and they put that back into the roots for next year. And they're one of the first vegetables to pop out in the spring. So I'm going to take these ones here. I don't know if you can see how tall they are, but they are about 2.5 to 3.5, 4 feet high. And I'm going to chop them all down for now so we can get some good asparagus. And I'll cut some of the asparagus that's worth eating right now. And we'll kind of reset the asparagus plot. Now with asparagus, when you're cutting it, you want to cut it down below the soil. I use an old knife. I don't really care too much about it at this point in its history. It gets dulled up. The top of this one's still tight, so I'll just cut the bottom off and we'll throw that in the pot. But these longer ones, you want to cut them below the soil, and they'll grow back soon enough. You just got to be careful you don't step on any smaller ones as you're going through your patch. I could feel one growing under my foot here. Here's another one I can put aside. Another one over here. And now over time, asparagus will grow out of bounds. So I planted 3 rows of 7 here in this about 8 foot by 8 foot area over 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And it's been plenty of asparagus for us ever since. And it's also been very good for our friends as well who like asparagus. So we make sure that they get plenty. Here's a nice tender one. I'll put that to the side. And you can go through. I have an asparagus knife, which it's kind of forked at the end. So it goes down into the asparagus, and as you push it, it's supposed to cut. And it's a very nice knife, but I find that when some of our asparagus grows too closely together, if one is not ready and another one is, it can cut both of them at the same time. It kind of is painting with a broad brush. So I use this knife here. It's actually it's an old butcher knife. And if you didn't know this, many years ago, about 40 years ago, I used to be into karate. And every year I do a knife fighting demonstration, and my instructor wanted to use a knife that would shine and catch the light, something that was big. So I used to hold this knife, and he would always take it from me in a in a very aggressive fashion. I learned a lot from being on the difficult end of that knife, but they were great demonstrations. And here it is 40 years later, and I'm using it to cut asparagus. It's pretty dull, especially at the tip where I've been going into the ground with it, but it's a good knife, and I actually have some fond memories of those demonstrations we used to do. In fact, it was in that karate club I met my wife, and we've been married 35 years, so overall a good result. I can't recall the brand that it was, but or the variety, but it's pretty thick. This head is just about to go. It's not as tight as some of these other ones. You can see the difference. It's a nice tight head. This is starting to loosen up so that it can go to flower. But my friends have even told me a lot of these come out very thick. You'll see here that some of these are kind of the thin asparagus. This is stalky, but they're kind of that thin asparagus that you see in the store, not the thick kind. But the thick kind that we've been putting out here is it's very tender when you cook it. So we've been very fortunate with that, and it's very tasty. If you like asparagus, some people shy away from it, but it's a great vegetable, and the thing I like about it, as you could probably guess, is it comes every year, year after year, and you don't have to mess with it that much. So there's a nice handful out of that big mess of asparagus, but these will be plenty for me for dinner, for the two of us actually, and just steam them up. They're fantastic, and they come back year after year, so a great perennial, a great benefit to the homestead.